This broadcast from the Matrix Midwest Studios is brought to you by New Ground International. It's time to plan, design, and build your future. Start today at newground.com.
Offside Hockey, driven by Weber Automotive Group.
And welcome into a new week of Offside Hockey. We are sandwiched right in between two games. The Blues last night against Detroit didn't go well. Tomorrow night, their second meeting of three regular season meetings against the Vancouver Canucks. I'm Chris Kerber alongside Amy Mark Scores. And Amy, it's been another tough run for the Blues this past week. They've now lost 5 straight, but holy cow, the goals are going in bunches.
Yeah, it's I think the word that Jim Montgomery used is the word that we all feel, which is shocking. It's been shocking seeing the team lose the way that they've lost. Nobody was expecting it. The expectations were high for this team. I think they still are, but they do need to turn things around pretty quickly. Like we said, you needed a quick start. They didn't get it.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the start here in a little bit. Joe Vitale is going to join us as well. A surprise first for Joe, by the way. You're going to want to stay tuned for that. We're going to go around the National Hockey League and everything from injuries to division leaders to Will Cranley's first start. We've got that around the National Hockey League as well. And even some Blues Halloween costumes, how the players have done. By the way, speaking of Halloween, earlier today the Blues they did their great tradition that started a number of years ago where kids from Children's Hospital come down to Enterprise Center after practice, and once they're there, they basically trick-or-treat throughout the whole organization. It started where they used to just trick-or-treat around the hockey player side in the locker room. It's become a whole organizational thing, and that part is really kind of neat. So every different department dresses up offices and locker rooms in a certain way. So a really fun night, so congratulations to the Blues on that. Okay, each and every week, we start with our 3 stars of the week. And yes, from a winning standpoint, there isn't a whole lot to cheer about right now. But from an individual effort standpoint, there actually is a few things, and let's start with the captain as the number 3 star of the week, Brayden Schenn. Amy, Jim Montgomery referred to him after the game last night, saying he is doing everything he can. You saw him fight. That was after he had scored a goal in the game. He wanted to go with Sherratt right off the bat. Sherratt didn't go. Brayden Schenn ends up scoring a goal 47 seconds into last night's game. The reality of it is, though, is Jim Montgomery said we need more people following him into the battle.
Yeah, and he said that Schenn is pushing his teammates, trying to lead the way to the point that it's almost the detriment of his own game, because that can be exhausting. You can't have one guy carry the team. But I love what I see from Brayden Schenn. He just needs to see more guys fall in line. This is just the mentality. I know everyone's watching the World Series right now. Shohei Ohtani in the championship series had that game where he had 3 home runs, struck out 10 batters in 6 innings. He was asked about it. What do you think? Was that your best game ever? He said, maybe, but I'm really disappointed I didn't get through that 7th inning.
Yeah.
That's the type of mentality you need to have.
Yeah, and that's the type of mentality that Brayden Schenn has right now. He's our number 3 star of the week. All right, our number 2 star of the week. First couple of games, he went without a point, but Jordan Kyrou's heating up. Now has points in 8 straight games. So he's finding his offense. He's finding the back of the net. He's getting some assists along the way as well. He's our number 2 star of the week, because one thing is that while the Blues have been giving up some goals, yes, I know they only had the 2 last night, and Jordan did have one of them. The reality of it is scoring goals really hasn't been much of a problem.
Yeah, it hasn't. Even though some of their top 6 forwards aren't scoring at the pace that you would expect them to be, when so much is broken, you need, as we mentioned, your leaders to step up. And Curbs, I wonder if Kyrou can even kick up the production. Is it little pieces like that? Every time a little piece turns right, it can help the momentum of the rest of the team?
I actually think his offensive production is going to be there because he's an offensively skilled player. He's a player that can get a shot off, can score from different angles, has that smell for the net, and gets the goal scorer's bounces. But if you go back to the game against the Pittsburgh Penguins, that's the game that really was a difference. You saw that was the first game with Robert Thomas out. That's the first game with Jake Neighbors out. To me, That's the game where you saw that Jordan Kyrou has the ability to impact the game aside from just the scoring sheet. He has the ability to steal some pucks, to play with more grit, to win more puck battles along the wall. Especially with the two players that the Blues have out in Thomas and Neighbors right now, that's where Jordan Kyrou's game needs to find another level of consistency. We know the offense is going to be there. This is a 3-time 30-goal scorer. Yeah. This is a guy that has all the skill in the world to score 40 goals. I do believe he will score 40 goals too. But it's those other aspects of the game, the consistent effort over the boards every single time to win the puck battles and how you play away from the puck is going to be more. Where they need, and not just Jordan Kyrou, but when we talk about the others in the top six, where they need some of that is more consistency every single shift in, shift out. That's what they're looking for. But he's off to a terrific start from a point standpoint with points in 8 straight. Our number one star of the week, look, this young man is really kind of a part of the heart and soul of the team. Jake Neighbors goes to the front of the net. He scores goals. When he got hurt against Detroit, he's leading the team in goals with 5. Now, I'm going to tell you something about Jake. He blocks the shot that came from the Detroit defenseman. Jake Neighbors blocks the shot. The shot was clocked at 98 miles an hour, and he blocked it from about, it looked like 10 feet. He then comes back, plays another shift, and despite a leg that is requiring now him to be on IR for 5 weeks, and that's just when he's going to be reevaluated. Whether that's a deep bone bruise, some kind of a fracture, some kind of a tear, who knows? The reality of it is Jake Neighbors still came out with that injury and played 10 shifts and another 8 minutes and 50 seconds in the third period of that game. That's the heart and toughness that the Blues have out of the lineup right now.
Yeah, you hate to lose that. You hate to lose that. There's so many elements here when you talk about Jake Neighbors being out of the lineup. Robert Thomas, we're not sure how long, but he's out of the lineup. Because you're not just losing their production, you're losing what you mentioned Jordan Kyrou needs to bring. That is better play when you don't have the puck. Better play away from the puck. Back checking. Are you skating when you don't have the puck to put yourself in that position? Jake Neighbors does that night in and night out. He's got that gritty spirit, very much in line of a Braden Shen. Also, when you don't have a guy fighting in front of the net, you're not going to draw as many penalties because it's those guys that just keep getting in front of the net, getting into the slot, being traffic in front of the goaltender that's going to help draw penalties. Penalties, you're going to have the power play. I mean, it's just like a domino effect of what you are up against when you lose your top guys.
Yeah, and kind of the most important aspect of that is he's been the one guy all season long that has just consistently gone to the front of the net. He learned that last year. He watched what Zach Hyman did. That's how Zach Hyman got 50 goals for the Edmonton Oilers. He goes, that's it. Go to the hard areas. Well, Jake Neighbors is going to be missed. He was put on IR, and now with that leg injury, he will be reevaluated in 5 weeks. So the Blues have some things to figure out. Now that also means opportunity as well. You know, we're going to talk about it with Joe Vitale coming up here in just a minute, but the Blues did make a roster move today. They went ahead and called up Dalibor Dvorsky. He has 5 points in 6 games played down with the Springfield Thunderbirds. Off to a good start. He's 20 years old. You got to think with the injuries that the Blues are dealing with, he should get a good sniff in a position that's going to allow him to show some of that skill as well. So more on Dvorsky coming up. We're also going to hear more from Joe Vitale, his thoughts on what's going on with this Blue team. And Amy, we're going to talk to him too about some bad bounces versus, say, goaltending and the difference that means. We've got Blues in Halloween costumes around the National Hockey League and a mea culpa from Amy coming up on the last shift. It's Offside Hockey. It's right here on Matrix Midwest. Glad to have you with us here on a Wednesday night. Stay tuned. A lot more to come. All right, it's that time every week. Let's head right to the Zoom. Let's zoom out to Kirkwood. It's too far for him to drive. It's too far for him to drive in here right now.
Out in the burbs?
Yeah. No, he was covering practice today, which is great. Joey Vitale joining us there from Kirkwood. And Joey V, you were around the team today. We're going to get to that in a moment, but let's go to the call-up. The Blues call up Dalibor Dvorsky. You know, you and I touched on this on the air a little bit. It's not really much of a surprise. They've already put the lines in a blender. Nothing seems to be kind of clicking the way it's going here. You do have a top centerman out, and you do have a top 6 forward out, so there's a chance for Dvorsky to maybe fill a role here. And I don't think the call-up was all that much of a surprise, was it?
No, it wasn't, Curbs. And, you and I were talking about on the postgame last night. When you're in a bit of a rut like the Blues are, as a general manager for Doug Armstrong, you have to do something, right? You see teams start questioning the coaches. Well, we know that's not going to happen here. Jim Montgomery's here for a very long time. The next step is let's bring up someone young. Let's bring up someone to give an opportunity. And for Dalibor Dvorsky, he had a good sample size last year. I think we saw growth in each and every game. I think that he had a very nice preseason. Maybe living a little bit in the shadows of Stenberg, who I think had the best tournament and certainly camp for any prospect. But also it's not necessarily the best player you're bringing up. You're bringing up a position. Right now they need a centerman, and he has done very well in the American Hockey League. His confidence, Jim Montgomery said earlier today, has never been really this high for the amount that he's playing in the American Hockey League this year. He's getting points. He's playing in all situations. And they need a centerman, right? Robert Thomas still listed as day-to-day. My hunch is that it's going to be probably a little longer than we're expecting, because why else would you call up a Dalibor Dvorsky? So some questions about, how close Robert Thomas is. But for bringing up a centerman right here, to me, it's kind of leading to the sights that maybe it's going to be a little bit longer for number 18.
Yeah, so you're bringing up Dvorsky, as you mentioned. Maybe that implies 18's out a little bit longer. But Dvorsky's young, and you think, okay, this guy's going to be ready, jump in with some veterans. The problem is the guys that have been on this team are struggling right now to connect with each other. I'm just referring back to what Jim Montgomery said last night after the game, that it's almost like they don't know where they're supposed to be moving the puck, right? As a line, as a unit. They don't know where the other guy is going to be. They're just not connecting. It's disorganized. Is it risky to throw a young guy into a group that's a bit disorganized right now?
You can certainly look at it like it can be risky. And I know that there's word of thought where, why would you bring up a younger guy still looking to establish himself in the National Hockey League with a team that it is so disorganized? And I think the word is fragile. I think it's a fragile team right now. So there is one food for thought that why would you put a young player in that situation? I'm actually a believer on the other side, though, Amy. My thought is, well, it can't really hurt the team at this point. And if you were to ask Dalibor Dvorsky, hey, we could call you up. Things aren't going great up here. Do you still want to go? Heck yeah, I want to come. Maybe he could be the difference. So for all the reasons that I know that some people say maybe not a good time, I actually look at it the other way. I look at it, a young player getting called up. Right now, things are not going well for the veteran groups, for the young guys. You see Jim Montgomery, he's been very vocal. He's trying to do everything he can to get underneath them and try to get a spark, but nothing's really working. So why not bring up a young guy? Maybe that young energy is exactly what this group needs. Maybe if you slide him into a top 6 role, and maybe then Pius Suter can slide down. Maybe Braden Shen can play maybe second-line minutes, where everyone kind of falls back into line with Robert Thomas being out. It's certainly worth a try.
All right. How do you view really kind of the scenario now with Thomas and Neighbors out?
Well, you're missing a ton of energy. You're missing a ton of personality. Curbs, you're missing guys that are drivers, right? I've used the term in hockey, passengers and pilots, right? Every team's got passengers. Every team's got pilots. And you lose 2 pilots in Jake Neighbors and Robert Thomas, both for different reasons, right? Jake prides himself on doing everything that everyone else shies away from. He loves a wall battle. He loves to block a shot. He loves a net front battle. I mean, that's what gets him going, right? Robert Thomas, he's a driver in different ways. He's going to drive chances. He's going to drive with speed. He's going to drive with his presence being out there to crush plays. So you're missing 2 drivers. You're missing 2 pilots. Now the question mark, or now the challenge for this team is, which passenger is willing to step out of their comfort zone and now become a pilot, right? Is it a Jordan Kyrou? Does he step up in a different way? Dylan Holloway, certainly a frustrating start to the season for him. So all this has been questioned, and right now that's what adds to the fragileness of this group. Everyone's kind of looking around saying, who wants to go grab it? And it's a confusing place. Whether you look at it I look at a Rubik's Cube. I look at a Rubik's Cube and I'm like, where the heck do I even begin with this Rubik's Cube? I think that's a lot like how this team is right now. They know the results. They know that the question marks, but they're kind of looking around like, where do we even begin? There's so much to get ironed out right now. I wasn't Michelangelo, and I've never been a sculptor, quite frankly. But he looked at this big stone, and he's like, I got to make a naked man out of this stone. I got to begin somewhere. So I guess I'll just start here, and that's what they got to do. You just got to start chipping off one corner, and then one chip leads to another chip, and then all of a sudden, maybe you'll have a David by the end of this season.
Okay.
Nope.
You would know more so than Joe and I would.
Where was here?
No, yeah. Where do we know where Michelangelo started?
We don't know. We don't know. I'm guessing the top of the head.
Really?
Right here.
Okay.
I think so. Hey, Joe, regarding the Rubik's Cube, I'm glad you brought this up because it does feel like the team, right, is trying to solve a Rubik's Cube right now. And every 13 seconds, someone swats it out of their hand and they have to start all over because they're also having really bad luck. The puck bounces, the puck luck, that's not why they're losing, but it's compounding the situation because, as Jim Montgomery said, he's never seen quite so many bad bounces for a team.
Amy, there's more than one truth happening here. I think a lot of times in this world, we think there's the truth and then there's everything else. I think there's two truths happening at the same time. The first truth is, have they been getting bad bounces? Without a doubt. I mean, look at last night's game, right? The Blues are in great control, energy in the building. Shen gets a fight. He gets the first goal. You're leading 1-0. And then Ben Chirot, come on. He shoots the puck. It looks like it's going about 14 feet wide, right? And what happens? It ends up going right off of Justin Falk, and it goes in the net. I mean, to me, that's the type of bounces you're talking about. So are they getting bad bounces? Yes, there's truth in that. But the other truth is what? You can't sit around and become a victim, right? And, talking to players in the locker room and you hear kind of both sides, I think the championship, the elite type teams, they understand that, yes, there's that bounce I'm talking about right there. Again, it's going 4 feet wide. Is it a bad bounce? Yeah, it's a bad bounce. So there's truth in that. But the other side is we can't be victims, right? Because no one's coming to save you. There's no life vest coming, right? Help is not coming, right? If you want to resolve it, you have to solve it. You have to stop making excuses. Not saying this Blues team is, but our victim mindset as players, it starts to kind of creep in as you see these bad bounces. You got to get away from that. And to me, that's where leadership really comes in important here. Where, yes, they're getting bad bounces, but puts that aside, guys. This is about getting back to work and not being a victim and going out there and just earning it, working every day to go get it. It takes everyone to jump on board. So I think both truths can certainly be at play here, Amy, and that's certainly what I'm seeing.
All right, we got one more week of you zooming in, and then we've got your X's and O's. You looking forward to that?
I'm going to be like Neo from The Matrix. You ever see that movie, The Matrix?
Yeah, it kind of looks like your blurred out background right there, like you're living in The Matrix.
Yeah. Hey, good news, though. My chicken finally laid it. We got
look at that.
I've been carrying this egg around. It's been like my lucky egg, like that guy from Cool Runnings.
From Cool Runnings, yeah.
Yeah, I put on my helmet, and it's like, I got my egg. Anyway, Butterscotch,
Yeah.
she's adorable. I think she's the one that's been waking you up every morning in Kirkwood, Amy.
Oh.
Butterscotch, she finally laid our
No,
first
that's not
egg.
Butterscotch. But Butterscotch is
yeah.
not cock-a-doodle doing.
That'd be a rooster.
Yeah, that's
Joe.
the truth. That's the rooster. They don't lay eggs.
No, the rooster doesn't lay the egg. Right.
Lucky egg. Hey, this is going to be the lucky egg that's going to turn it around for this Blues team.
All right, Joe, back to the almanac. All right, bud, thanks. We'll talk to you next week.
You guys. You got it.
All right, that's Joe Vitale here on Offside Hockey. When we come back, we've got some more Blues topics to get into, and after that, we're going to go around the National Hockey League. Stay with us. Offside Hockey continues here on Matrix Midwest. All right, welcome back into Offside Hockey. Let's dig a little bit deeper now into some of the topics surrounding the Blues over this past week. And frankly, as we go into tomorrow's game, which is going to be the final game of the month of October, the Blues have 11 games in the month of October. Take a look at some of these numbers of how October has gone over the last 3 years. 3-5-0 2 seasons ago. 3-3-1 last season. 3-6-1 this season. Now, over the last 2 seasons, maybe you expected that kind of start. You'd hope for something better, but maybe you expected it. You didn't expect this kind of start this time, Amy. The expectations were a lot higher than this.
Yeah.
This one is a bit of a surprising start. And the month of October is a month that can really set you up or really have you chasing. The Blues are chasing, not as much as they could be, but they started to chase, and that's because October has done it again to them.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot at the beginning of the year. They have to get off to a quick start. They have to get off to a quick start, and they didn't. So you talked about the re-word. Well, they need to regroup now. They need to regroup now. It's it is a long season, like a marathon, a triathlon. You can't win the race in the swim of an Ironman triathlon, but you can lose it. Now, the Blues haven't lost their chances of being a playoff team, but they put themselves behind the 8 ball to kick off the season. It is a long season, so I'm not panicking, but they do need to regroup, because what we're seeing right now, I do think feels like they've been shell-shocked.
Well, they're definitely shell-shocked. Because of the start. Now, I can tell you, having been around the team, traveling with the team in the locker room at just about every single practice since camp opened up, you are looking at a team, though, that still has a ton of confidence. And Braden Shen kind of addressed things last night after the loss.
Yes, losses are going to be frustrating no matter what, but I think it's the way that we're losing. Feeling like some nights we're leaving our goaltenders out to dry, and since I've been here, it's just the brand of hockey that we play. This is just it's not the kind of hockey that we're used to playing around here. So, and I'm including myself in all of that. We're in this together. So we have to find a way to dig ourselves out of it. I mean, you look at the last 4 or 5 games, I don't know what the goals against average is, but it's got to be high. And all of us feel that in here. So, we have to look in the mirror and work together to try and find a solution.
When you're battling adversity and not feeling as good as you possibly can, you have to dig down a little bit deeper and lock it down, and we just haven't found a way to do that just quite yet. Guys care. Guys, we're trying. Guys want to win. Obviously, we know guys are battling their own confidence issues right now, and that's just not from points. That's from when you win. Guys want to win, and you come to the rink expecting to win every night. You're not getting the results. It's tough on everyone. No one wants to deal with that. But what I do know is, this game humbles you, and we're getting humbled right now. And we have to battle adversity, and I do know this isn't permanent, and we have to dig in and find ways to get out of it. The best part about this game is you get to come to the rink tomorrow and find a way to get better as a team.
Yeah, so the captain, Braden Shen, there, but when Cam Fowler, at the beginning of that clip, talked about the goals against and how it's got to be high, it is high. They've let in 44 goals in their first 10 games. That's tied for second worst. I think only the San Jose Sharks have let in more goals against at 46. So I started going back through the years, how many goals have the Blues let in? And I couldn't find a year that matched this other than the 81-82 season. Wow. When they let in 46 goals the first 10 games in. And the point is, yes, they're losing these games, but it's how they're losing them. The defense feels porous. It feels like our goaltenders are left out there to dry, and they're going to have to make spectacular saves on a night-in, night-out basis, and that's what's so demoralizing.
Well, okay, so that takes us into the next topic here is the massive momentum swings in games. And what that leads to, kind of more towards your point, is you get a goal like Braden Shen had last night, and we talked about him as our number 3 star of the week with the way he's been doing it all, and Jim Montgomery referenced it. But there hasn't been enough to there. Just even the space there, that they're able to get, that Fenny right there has on that goal. Jim Montgomery gets fired up on the bench, and that timeout was, of course, in last night's game. Look at Larkin moving out. He moves away from Parayko, gets the deflection, and there's really not much other than, honest to goodness, just the save of saves that you could expect there. Now, there's a couple things going on. Yes, the goaltending has been hung out to dry, but it just hasn't been good enough. It hasn't been consistent enough from one game to the next, and I think you're seeing a team that's playing in front of the goaltenders to not give up a goal right now. I think of the foot on the other side of that is when they have been giving up a goal, they've been coming in bunches. 8 times already this season, the Blues have allowed 2 goals within the span of a couple minutes of each other. They're coming in bunches. That's your response. Well, what did they have a lot last year? Well, they had the WTF line. They had a line that you knew was going to go straight at the puck, go straight into the offensive zone, and really set the tone. Again, every year the culture's different. It's handling those momentum swings. Now, look, you've lost 2,500 games on defense. You've got some younger defense. You know, you've got a true rookie in Jimmy Snuggerud, in that sense, playing now in your top 6. Obviously, the last 2 games, you lost a couple of players. We've talked about that already with Joe and in our 3-star segment. But it's handling those momentum swings that you need to really get under control. And the biggest aspect of those goals against is the little things to get the puck out. For example, you don't hang it on the goaltender, the first goal that was scored last night by Detroit. But there were 2 or 3 opportunities to clear the zone before that. And that didn't happen. They didn't win the puck battles then to do it. Sometimes it's not as much the play right in front of the goaltender as it's the plays not happening that lead up to that. And there is a thing. Look, the Blues are dealing with some pretty bad puck luck when it comes to deflected goals. Jim Montgomery referenced that. But the reality of it is the play isn't good enough to expect better puck luck. And that's where they're trying to, that's what this team is focused on fixing.
Yeah, and hockey, I mean, it's a chain of events. It's so connected. It's not like in baseball where if a guy is in a slump at the plate, it doesn't directly affect your starting pitcher. But if a defenseman makes a mistake at the blue line, if you can't keep the puck in, if you give up an odd man rush, it directly affects in real time at 20 miles an hour every other guy on the ice. And so, as you mentioned, when one guy messes up, you're giving up. One little mistake turns into a grade A chance. Jim Montgomery said one of their points of pride last year is that they didn't give up grade A scoring chances. They had at least 4 or 5 last night. 4 of those turned into goals.
Yeah, and that's one of the issues they're having. Now, what does this mean on home ice? Well, okay, the Blues have not had a good start. 1-4-1, as you know, on home ice. But they've got to get this going on home ice fast, and that starts tomorrow night with the Vancouver Canucks. Because 6 of the next 9 games are on home ice. By the time you hit November 15th, you will have played 1/4 of your home games.
Wow.
I mean, so that's a lot of hockey. They've got to get the home sheet figured out.
Yeah, it's an issue. You don't want it to become a thing. All I have right now are like analogies, and analogies are like toupees. Right. They best serve their purpose from a distance, but they don't hold up under close inspection. And so these are analogies, but it can't become a thing. If you are someone who throws up when you're nervous, and every time you get nervous, you throw up, it becomes a habit. It's like your body accepts that this is a response, that something's bad going to happen. That's how I feel the Blues are viewing home ice right now. It's like they've trained themselves to puke at home. You can't do that. It can't become a thing.
Toupees and vomit. Didn't see that one come. What did you say about toupees?
They best serve their purpose from a distance, but they don't hold up under close inspection.
Okay, I'm glad I did not wear a toupee around Amy. All right, last thing when it comes to the Blues. How about 3 small details that could lead to more wins? All right, we talked about 1, winning wall battles. We mentioned that. That's number 1. That's huge. Number 2, they just got to defend harder in their own zone. Giving up way too many chances. Forwards not coming back hard enough. Some defensemen getting below the blue line at the other time. They've got to defend their house better. And number 3, it's an attitude thing, and here's what Jim Montgomery phrased it like.
You know what? I want to see guys lean into a challenge. Like, mentally, get after it. You know, big saying here is LGB, and this one I say is LFG. You can figure out the acronym.
That chuckle you heard in the background, that was me. That was me. I absolutely. But it is attitude. You know. Look, you can take all the analytics that are out there, and a lot of them are good. You actually look at some of the offensive zone time last night, and the St. Louis Blues had 2.5 minutes of more offensive zone time from Detroit than Detroit did. Does that make any sense? No. You look at a lot of the defensive metrics that they use from an analytics standpoint, and it has the Blues ranked in the top 10 in a whole slew of them. But it hasn't resulted in wins. It hasn't resulted in fewer goals against. It hasn't resulted in handling the momentum swings. Sometimes the game of hockey is if the puck goes into the corner, who comes out with it? That simple.
Yeah.
Who comes out with it? That means who has the LFG attitude, as Jim Montgomery talked about, to make a difference.
Yeah, I think when you're at this level of elite athlete, elite game, it's not what can you do, it's what are you willing to do.
Yep.
What are you willing to do?
I believe detailed numbers have a role. But the one thing, no matter what the sport, none of them have ever been able to measure is heart. And that's what you need in sports, period. All right, coming up, we're going around the National Hockey League. Pretty good game for a former St. Louis Blue between the pipes. And what about 3 of the 4 division leaders? 3 of the 4 division leaders are leading the division, and they all have something in common. We'll talk about that around the National Hockey League next. All right, welcome back into Offside Hockey. Time to get around the National Hockey League here as we have a bunch of different topics for you today. But we're going back from where we were a week ago. We're going back to Buffalo. We're going back to Buffalo. And Amy, we brought up Will Cranley last week. Of course, he was put on waivers by the Blues, not because the Blues wanted to put him on waivers a couple weeks ago, but because they had no choice. He was a player that to go to the minors, well, you had to put him on waivers. The Buffalo Sabres went ahead and picked him up. Pretty cool moment for him. Not only got into the game as a starter, but ended up winning his first start. And frankly, it helped spur a bit of a turnaround for Buffalo.
Yeah, it does. It's great to see Colton Ellis between the pipes for the Sabres. And I don't know if you saw the post-game interview with the NHL on TNT, and you have Henrik Lundqvist there and Paul Bissonnette and Wayne Gretzky, and Colton Ellis said, I'm really glad I can't see you guys right now because I would be so nervous. You felt so good for him that he had that great start, ended up being not only the winning goalie, but the number 1 star of the game.
Yeah, one of those kind of cool moments where, I'm going to tell you this, and we've seen some players in some of these recent teams that have come in that have spent a pretty good amount of time down in the minor leagues. I mean, even a guy like Jordan Binnington that played for Kalamazoo in the East Coast Hockey League, even a scenario like that, when a guy goes down 2 levels away from the National Hockey League and eventually just kind of continues to pull his way up just to get the chance. And folks, that's why the waiver wire is there. That's why it works. Now, is he going to stay with Buffalo all year? Heck, I don't know. Who knows, right? But he got a chance because of it, you know, and that's exactly what you want to see happen. All right, Amy's favorite time of the week, the villain of the week, Amy.
Yes, absolutely. And here you have Mason Marchment absolutely faking out Logan Stanley. You see the flinch right there, like he's gonna punch him. You gotta have a little fun in this league, if nothing else. We chatted with Barrett Jackman the other day, and he was just talking about the fun that the guys had when he was on that Blues team with Keith Tkachuk and Dallas Drake. And they were giving, I forgot who it was, but some skater. He was catching so much flack from these guys, like, you can't skate, put your roller skates back on. And the guy finally turned around and said, guys, I'm trying my best. I'm just not very good. Please stop. And he said they actually felt bad for a while.
Well, it's kind of like, it's like when some of the teams have looked at Pat Maroon. You know, one guy says, you're fat. And he goes, yeah, okay, I'm still playing in the same league you are.
Right.
You know, things along those kind of lines. Now, villain of the week, I kind of think that one's more personality of the week. I think if somebody's going to fake punch you like that, that's when I think Logan Stanley just drops him, grabs him, feeds him, takes the 2-5-10. You know, I wanted last night to see somebody take the 2-5-10 as well.
Yeah.
There's this fear around players in the NHL now where, you know, you don't want to take the instigator because obviously it puts you out for 17 minutes. Sometimes when you're trailing enough in the game, if somebody's doing something and they don't want to, take what, you know, you can go back to our villain of the week last week there with Marchand. The reality of it is, if somebody doesn't want it, take the 2-5-10. The crowd's going to love it, and your teammates are going to love it. And more times than not, they kill off the instigator penalty.
Well, and I will just say, if someone fake punches you and then skates away laughing about it, how can you not react?
Cross-check them the next time. Bring back the nastiness
The
in
kidney
hockey.
shot.
All right. The Mammoth. Well, they have had a mammoth start to this season without a shred of doubt. Now, you knew this was coming. They missed the playoffs last year. There was a chance they could get in. The Blues ended up making the playoffs with a win over Utah at the end of last season, but they have come out on fire. Now, Logan Cooley has just been given a new 8-year contract, so they've got another young star under there. Clayton Keller has played really well, but this is why the start, and we talked about it earlier in the show, has been so important for the St. Louis Blues. You're playing in just a nasty, nasty division, and the Mammoth right now have turned this thing upside down to begin the season by taking over the top spot in the Central.
Yeah, they have, and don't forget Nick Schmaltz either. He's on top of their scoring with that team. Young guys, they're coming out hot, they're coming out hungry, and I think that makes a really big difference in this game. And we've talked about Nick Schmaltz and Clayton Keller as being Blues killers. I mean, whenever the Blues play them, but that's what they're taking to the league night in and night out.
They're finding a way to get the wins. They're finding a way to chip away. But the thing of it is, it's really impressive. It's who they've done it against. They've beaten a lot of the teams. You know, they've gone into Colorado, gotten wins. They've gone into Vegas. They've gone into places where it's been really good in order to get to it. Well, that leads to this next one then, the division leader. So what is Utah? What is Montreal? Right? What do they have in common? Utah and Montreal, along with the New Jersey Devils? Each one of these teams has had a lot of high draft picks, sometimes as many as 4, 5 top 10 picks in the lineup at the same time. A first overall pick combined with a third, maybe a second. 3 of the 4 division leaders right now have that pedigree, which means they've stunk for a long time, means they've been no good for a long time, and it means it's about time that they actually started to get good. The other division leader, Vegas, they're just in a world on their own, how they've been competitive since day one in the National Hockey League. But one of the things you're seeing now, look at New Jersey near the top of the standings. Some of these teams that over the last 8 to 10 years, Detroit is another one, that have had so many top 10 picks, first overall picks, second overall picks, third overall picks. They're finally starting to show their wear at the beginning of this season as divisional leaders in some of the better teams in the league. That's the way it should be. I also don't think you should have that many top 10 picks in a row.
Yeah, but also having that many top 10 picks doesn't guarantee success right away. The Edmonton Oilers, remember when they had a basket full of first-round picks, high picks, and they did not improve for a long time.
No, but it did take them to there. And then, you know, so I like at some point in time, you're one of these teams, you're St. Louis, you're Dallas, you're one of these teams trying to compete with that. You're competing against a lot of young talent that's been picked high on some of these teams. All right, final topic here, quick one for you, Amy. NHL injuries. There's a lot. You look at what the Vancouver Canucks have out of the lineup. Quinn Hughes could be out tomorrow. We'll see if he ends up back in the lineup. You've also got some amazing other injuries like the Hughes, Forbert, Mancini, Lekaramaki, Höglander, Blugel, Hedl. Garland was injured last night. That's just Vancouver. In St. Louis, you've got Thomas. You've got Neighbors out for 5 weeks. We'll see if Thomas is able to return against Vancouver tomorrow night. But with a condensed schedule with as many games, I think injuries is going to be a storyline all season long. Whoever makes the playoffs and whoever ends up going on a deep run in the playoffs is going to be the team that's either had the fewest injuries or has managed their injury situation well.
Yeah, it's going to come down to roster depth and the injuries compounded with the Olympic break and the condensed schedule. You're right. Able to manage your roster is going to be critical.
All right, it's Halloween time. It's Halloween time. Every year, NHL teams have Halloween parties. The Blues already had theirs because of their schedule. We got some Halloween costumes coming up next as we go digital blue. Halloween time on Offside Hockey. Do you like Halloween?
Yes. Question mark.
Okay,
I mean, some people really get into it.
Okay, seriously, when was the last time you dressed up for Halloween?
It was like 2 years ago.
Okay.
2 years, and we were supposed to do puns, and I'm trying to remember. Oh, what was, I forgot. I was supposed to be.
If it was a bad pun.
It was a bad pun,
yeah.
and I can't remember the pun. But the pun was all innocent and fun, but somehow I just ended up looking like a disreputable woman of the night. So.
Okay, so.
That wasn't the pun, though.
You know this, Amy. It's kind of become a tradition around the NHL. There's Nathan Walker. All right.
Okay.
Dylan Holloway, Halloween costume. Yep, Jake, that's the first one I recognize with Shrek there. Robert Thomas. Oh, is that okay? All right, and then who's Batman?
Okay, you're naming
there?
the players. Do you know who they're supposed to be? Did
Well,
you know
I'm
who
Batman,
Robert
and
Thomas
I got the Pirates of the. Is it the Caribbean or the Caribbean?
Caribbean, probably.
Yeah. Okay, that's got to be that Bieber dude. These are just American tourists?
What was?
I don't know what that is.
Are they just 60s?
Yeah.
Well, Shrek, we can tell. I like the.
I appreciate Jake for giving us one that I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That
that's
is?
so that's supposed to be Justin Bieber too, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, Justin Timberlake? That's supposed to be Justin Timberlake?
Yes.
Okay.
The Pirates.
Now, who's in Batman there? Is that Pareko? Because that's a tall Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so now.
What did you dress up as?
Oh, I don't. You know what? I don't remember the last time I dressed up for Halloween.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Because the reality of it is on a lot of these.
Yeah.
I think my oldest is 20 now. I think we've been in town for maybe 10 of them.
Yeah.
10 Halloweens maybe. And then sometimes we've had games. I couldn't tell you the last costume that I was.
I've wanted to dress up like on air, like as a hot dog or something, but then I'm always afraid some terrible story is going to break. And I'm dressed as a hot dog.
I could see
terrible
that. Okay, I
news.
did go to a last Halloween party I went to. I was dressed up. I went as a bad egg, and what I did was I took a prison garb.
Yeah.
Right, and then I had a chicken hat with the yolk had run down, so the chicken basically laid a bad egg. And
Bingo, it's Joey's
it was
lucky egg.
actually
Yeah.
you actually would have liked this one. It was a deep thought pun, is what that one would have been.
I can't remember the pun.
Yeah. Well, we'll get back to that because you've got your last shift coming up now, so you got plenty of time to figure things out. One more shift here on Offside Hockey. Back in a moment.
Okay, I finally, Curbs, remembered the pun.
Okay.
I was supposed to be
the pun.
the
So
pun.
you were your Halloween costume.
pun.
It
Yes.
had to be a pun.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was a formal apology. So I had to dress up fancy, and I had a little placard that said "I'm sorry."
Okay.
Get it? A formal apology.
All right.
But I failed on the formal side, and it didn't work, and people had no idea what I was. But speaking of formal apologies, I would like to issue one for my last shift hot take. Not since Dewey defeats Truman has someone been so wrong. I was not worried about the big losses, Curbs. The 5-0 loss, the 8-3 loss, I said I was cavalier. I prefer a big loss because those are outliers. Those are anomalies. And it didn't work out that way. So I was super wrong. I apologize.
Because we've had a couple more.
Yes, because we had a couple more. And I
get it.
probably should have worried
Accountability matters.
Accountability
I do think what you
matters.
were trying to say, though, in the end was you just can kind of shovel these aside. But the problem is there's now been enough. You have to dig a lot deeper into what really has been the issue.
Which is what you said, because I had said, this is an outlier. No one loses 8-3 and 5-0 night after night. And you did caution me to not be quite so cavalier with my attitude. And Curbs, you were right, and I was very wrong.
It could happen where they continue for a little while. But I will say this, and rest easy, everybody. The one thing you feel when you're around this team is there is still a workmanlike calm to it. There is a good attitude. There is a drive and a willingness to it. I think they just have to feel some of that positivity as they move forward. All right, well, thanks for tuning in to Offside Hockey each and every week. She's Amy, I'm Chris, and we come your way every single Wednesday night. Make us part of your Wednesday night date plan. We'll just put it on during dinner. We'll talk hockey with you for an hour and then get you set on your way. Blues and Canucks tomorrow night, wrapping up the 2-game homestand. Then it's off to Columbus on the weekend. We will see you all next Wednesday right here on Matrix Midwest.
Offside Hockey, driven by Weber Automotive Group.
This broadcast from the Matrix Midwest Studios is brought to you by New Ground International. It's time to plan, design, and build your future. Start today at newground.com.